Alright, so I bought this Honda Civic. It was a long story, but I had to buy a car, and I knew my friend took care of this Honda Civic, so 1,200 bucks, ready to go. So I've been fixing a lot of things on this car, and one thing that really bothered me was the speedometer. The speedometer was not working, and I'm like, dude, how are you supposed to drive this car if you don't know how freaking fast you're going? So I mean, life hack, if you don't have a speedometer working, you can download an app, and you could use a phone that isn't even hooked to the internet. So I had like a spare phone laying around. I downloaded an app on it, and there's lots of them. It's called like speedometer or something, and you put your GPS on, put your location on, and you mount it mount it to the dashboard or whatever, and it tells you how fast you're going. So that was cool. That worked for a little bit. But I'm like, all right, I gotta fix this problem. So of course, what a lot of people do is they look at the speed sensor. So 1993 Honda Civic speed sensor, and he's like, I replaced the speed sensor. And the funny thing is, and this is why I'm making these videos, because none of this crap makes sense, and there's probably other people out there having these sorts of problems. Um, so yeah, you get a check engine light. Well, it would go on and off, and it said replace your speed sensor, or number 17 speed sensor, and so he replaced the speed sensor. So I knew it wasn't that, or maybe it was. Maybe he didn't put it in right. I don't know. So I went in there, and I went under the hood, and I actually ratcheted off. I unscrewed the speed sensor, and I was cleaning it because I took the little needle out, and there was like rust on it or something like that. So I cleaned it. I got like a WD-40 lubricant, and I cleaned it. I got the electrical connector cleaner, cleaned out the electrical connector. I did everything I could to clean it, hooked it back up, started driving the car, no luck. I was pissed. So he actually gave me a spare gauge cluster. And I'm like, if the thing came on and said, speed sensor's bad, and you replace the speed sensor, like, I don't know, I'm like, maybe it's the pigtail, because you can buy a pigtail for like 14, 15 bucks. Maybe that's what it was, and I'm really glad I didn't, because, so what I ended up doing is, I guess I might as well show you, because we're here. Alright, I'm still trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing, so, I guess I'll pause it, and then I'll I'll flip the camera around. So it's pretty easy to do it, but okay, actually, no. Your first thing is to take a flat tip screwdriver, and which is the easiest, cheapest thing, and you pry it in here, and you take this out, right? And then there's a connector, so you squeeze the connector, and you pull the connector off, right? And you put that aside. So then you got a screw up here. It's a star-shaped screw, and another one. So you got two screws up there. You take those screws out, don't lose them, right? And then you pry this whole thing off. It's very easy. It's really not that bad. So you pry this off. Now this side is going to give you problems. While you're prying it off, take your time, because there's these clips that are kind of hooked under here. So you could push this up and use another screwdriver to pry down. Once you can get it off, you can put the screwdriver in there and kind of push it and pry it off. Take your time. And so then you pull this whole thing out, and after that, so now this whole plastic thing you can put aside, and now there's going to be 4 screws. There's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. They'd be like behind here. So like 1, 2, 3, 4 flathead screws. I'm sorry, star-shaped screwdriver, or Phillips head, I guess. And so you take those screws out, put them aside, don't lose them. and then you can pull it out, you know, and you can kind of wiggle it out, and then there's going to be like 4 connectors, and just take your time on the connectors, you know, and you squeeze the connector and you pull it off. It's pretty simple, you know, you can do it. So long story short, so now I can finish it. So what happened is I swapped the gauge cluster, and I didn't even put everything back together. I just connected all the wires, or connected all the connections, and took it for a drive, and it was the gauge cluster. You know, now all my gauges work. A lot of people say that online. You know, it's weird. They say you need a new gauge cluster, you need a new speed sensor. A lot of people say the speed sensor, but and it's funny. Like, this is why I'm making these videos, because another guy, Chris Fix, YouTuber, popular, said if your speedometer and your odometer are not working, it's the speed sensor. Well, guess what? Both those things were not working, and it was the gauge cluster. So it just goes to show you, like, don't give up, and like keep pressing forward, keep trying to figure out what it is, and you'll figure it out. It might take some time, but and try to save as much money as you can. Do it as cheaply as you can, and narrow your problem down. So that's it. So if your speedometer isn't working, it might not be your speed sensor. It could just be the gauge cluster. So that's it.